So I will explain what is explosive and the classification of explosions, including the propellants and nitrates and their examples. So an explosive is a reactive chemical with a large amount of potential energy that when released quickly can cause an explosion, which is usually followed by the emission of light, heat, sound, and pressure. So who invented the original explosive, black powder, which is a mixture of potassium nitrate, sulfur, and charcoal, may never be known with certainty carbon. It is widely believed to have originated in China in the 10th century, but its use there was nearly entirely limited to pyrotechnics and signaling. Example of explosive. Examples include primary explosives such as nitroglycerin that can detonate with little or no stimulus, and secondary explosives such as dynamite or trinitrotoluene or TNT that require a strong shock from a detonator such as a blasting cap. Low explosives change into gases by burning or combustion. Classifications of explosions. So propellant explosive, an explosive that is used to propel projectiles from guns or to propel rockets and missiles or to launch torpedoes and depth charges. The difference between propellant and explosive are propellants correspond to deflagration rather than detonation like explosives. The major difference between propellants and explosives is that propellants provide a much greater duration of pressure with a significantly lower loading rate in the borehole than explosives. So later on, we have some examples of explosive or classifications of explosions.
What is explosive? Classification of explosions. Explosive or explosions, any chemical component or combination that, when subjected to high temperatures, compression, contact, or surprise, undergoes a rapid chemical change or breakdown, resulting in explosion. An explosive is any chemical substance or mechanical combination, ascertained when heat is applied, effect, tension, impulsion, or even other appropriate commencement. Initiates rapid chemical transform. It releases high volume of extremely heated gases, typically nitrogen or CO2, that puts pressure on the surrounding region. Explosive also are any chemical or technology that can be manufactured to create a large volume of expanding rapidly gas in a very short period of time. It is considered explosive. So there are classification of explosive. Propellants are chemical substance or mixes that can burn with the use of air as an oxidant. Nitrates or nitrite is a chemical molecule containing oxygen and nitrogen and is used for fertilization, and is also an ingredient that is used to able to create an explosion because it is a chemical that are able to primarily start an explosion.
What is explosive and the classifications of explosion? Explosives are any substance or device that can be made to produce a volume of rapidly expanding gas in an extremely brief period. So the classifications of explosions is propellants and nitrites or nitrates. We're going to talk about those two explosions. So first, it's just propellant. Propellant is a smokeless powder, or should I say nitrocellulose, and pyrotechnics such as potassium perchlorate, aluminum mixture are often used in an explosive charge in pipe bombs where the explosive charge is confined within a vessel. Second is nitrites. There are two different types of nitrites, sodium nitrite and ammonium nitrite. Ammonium nitrite is commercially available both as a colorless crystalline solid and produced into a brill for specific applications. Soluble in water, does not rapidly burn but will do so if contaminated with combustible materials. Accelerates the burning of combustible materials produced to produce oxide of nitrogen during combustion, used to make fertilizers and explosives and as nutrient in producing antibiotics and yeast. And last, sodium nitrite. Sodium nitrite appears as a white crystal, solid, non-combustible, but accelerates the burning of combustible materials. If large quantities are involved in a fire or a combustible material is finely divided, an explosion may explode under prolonged exposure to heat or fire. Toxin oxide of nitrogen are produced in fires used in solid propellants, explosives, fertilizers, and for other many uses.
Good day, I am Tabog Bensler Nicole Orok, BH Scribe. According to their application or design, first industrial explosive, dynamite. First explosive invented by Alfred Nobel, it contains up to 75 nitroglycerin absorbed and desensitized by 25% of the ion species Earth. Oxidizer can be relapsed to increase the energy yield. Next, ammonium nitrate explosive, EN nitro mixture and EN fuel or oil or ANFO. Water explosive, slurries and water gel explosive emulsion. Slurries and water gel made of aqueous solution of ammonium nitrate and sodium or calcium nitrate yield by gargum or cross-linking agent. Explosive emulsion, sensitized by air bubbles introduced by means and hollow glass and plastic bubbles that storage the time limited because of the bubbles. Homemade improvised explosive device is a bomb constructed and deployed in ways other than in conventional military action. Military explosive. Grenades is an explosive weapon typically thrown by hand but can also repulse to the shell. Fuse used to initiate explosive in any warhead. Ammunition is the material fired, scattered, dropped, or detonated from any weapon or weapon system. Rockets and missiles. Any or variety of weapons system that deliver explosive warheads to their targets by means of rocket propulsion. Mines. A landmine is an explosive device hidden beneath or the ground. Submination. A small weapon or device that is part of a larger warhead. Incendiary explosive. As a device means a dynamite and all other form of high explosive. Chemical weapon. Can be widely dispersed in gas, liquid, and solid form and may easily affect others than the intended targets. That's all.
The laboratory examination is a discipline in which clinician detects specimen through clinical laboratory tests to obtain relevant information as needed and to analyze overall disease in combination with other clinical information. To complete the screening, diagnosis, severity evaluation, formulation of prevention and treatment measures, and assessment of human health. Terrorist use improvised explosive is on the rise around the world. To protect the country's security and their own personal safety, law enforcement officers must have a basic understanding of this involving threat. Suspected explosive and powder retrieved from live bombs or blasting caps should be tested qualitatively, including chemical and confirmatory tests to determine the presence of explosive or explosive elements. The use of explosive against target possesses a significant threat to public safety and is a major concern for law enforcement agencies, who are frequently the first responders to a bomb threat. All officers' responses to bomb threat or emergency should be systematic, efficient, and prioritize the protection of human life.
Explosion is a sudden and rapid increase in volume and release of energy in an extreme manner. This is an outward release of energy, usually with high temperatures, and release of high pressure gases. So, implosion is also similar with explosion, except that energy release is initially directed inward. So the large amount of hot gas essentially forms shock waves, creating an explosion which can have shattering effects. So there are three types of explosion. First is the mechanical explosion, or known as pressure explosion. So So this involved the internal pressure of a contained gas becoming too high and expanding beyond the container's strength, resulting the container bursting and the contained gas escaping, creating an explosion. Second is the atomic explosion, resulting from atomic transformations, also called atomic bomb, weapon with great explosive power that results from the sudden release of energy. Third is the chemical explosion, caused by either decomposition or combination reactions that produce large amounts of extremely hot gas, which expands rapidly and increases pressures.
So for now, I will discuss to you the main factors affecting the reaction rate of explosion. First is reactant concentration. Increasing the concentration of one or more reactants will often increase the rate of reaction. This occurs because a higher concentration of a reactant will lead to more collisions of the reactant in a specific time period. And second is physical state of the reactants and surface area. If reactant molecules exist in different phases, as in a heterogeneous mixture, the rate of reaction will be limited by the surface area of the phases that are in contact. For example, if a solid metal reactant and gas reactant are mixed, only the molecules present on the surface of the metal are able to collide with the gas molecules. Therefore, increasing the surface area of the metal by pounding it flat or cutting it into many pieces will increase its reaction rate. Third is temperature. An increase in temperature typically increases the rate of reaction. An increase in temperature will raise the average kinetic energy of the reactant molecules. Therefore, a greater proportion of molecules will have the minimum energy necessary for an effective collision. And the last is a presence of catalyst. A catalyst is a substance that accelerates a reaction by participating in it without being consumed. Catalysts provide an alternate reaction pathway to obtain products. They are critical to many biochemical reactions, so that reactions occur when two reactant molecules effectively collide, each having minimum energy and correct orientation. Reactant concentration, the physical state of the reactants, and the surface area, temperature, and the presence of a catalyst are the four main factors that affect the reaction rate of explosion.
Mechanism and effects of explosion. An explosive is a reactive substance that contains a great amount of potential energy that can produce an explosion if released suddenly, usually accompanied by the production of light, heat, sound, and pressure. The best example of it is the atomic explosive. Its strength is when completely fissioned, 1 kilogram or 2.2 pounds of uranium-235 releases the energy equivalent produced by 17,000 tons or kilotons of TNT. The detonation of an atomic bomb releases enormous amounts of thermal energy or heat, achieving temperature of several million degrees in the exploding bomb itself. The damage mechanism of atomic explosive: approximately 85% of the energy of a nuclear weapon produces air blast and shock. Thermal energy or heat: the remaining 15% of the energy is released as various types of nuclear radiation.
Will the need effort required to initiate explosion of an atomic bomb is from the sudden release of energy from splitting of fission or the nuclear of a heavy elements such as plutonium or uranium. In the process of splitting, a great amount of thermal energy as well as gamma rays and two or more neutrons is released. Just like what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. In Hiroshima, almost everything up to about 1 mile from the explosion was completely destroyed. Most of these buildings had their materials completely gutted and all windows, doors, sashes, and flames ripped out. In Nagasaki, nearly everything within 1.5 miles of the explosion was destroyed, including every structure. All Japanese were destroyed within 1.5 miles from the explosion.